Don't need a gym, baby. Anybody wants some upper arm workouts, they can come out here and do this for a day. It doesn't take that long. You can do about 10 of these and your arms just turn into absolute jello. You know, work the old triceps, biceps, and forearms. Anyways, we'll call it a day on that. For all the people that know, this old, well, the old and the new trellis that we put in. So this is 1-year-old trellis. We decided to go ahead and use but they're essentially, the company we use is called, it's Grape. So they have a bunch of cool connections. It's all wire connections, and they have cable connections that they sell, and this little tool here. And so what I'm doing right now is going along the end rows, and as the summer goes on, these wires, and we can make them as tight as we want in the spring, but if people don't know, during the summertime stuff stretches out and gets loose. The wires get loose and it stretches out during the summertime when it gets hot, so we got to come by periodically and use this thing. And it actually, there's a little grip. It's essentially a little vise, and this goes around and it pulls the wires tighter as we do that. So got one up on the top, got one down at the bottom that holds the drip tube that also keep tight, so that these grapes can hold hopefully 10 to 12 ton in a couple of years. Next year probably won't get that, but maybe a couple of years from now we'll be able to put 10 or 12 ton an acre on these bad boys. So yeah, out here, and it's a nice evening. I just ate some dinner, so it's always good to get out and do something after dinner, and we're out here. So yeah. Nice. Emma's going to try the impossible here. Well, Mabel pees in the background. Oh, come on, use them puny arms.
It's so hard.
All right, so throughout the summer, we have a crew of 3 people right now that are nonstop training in our new vineyard. This is the 1-year-old section, 1-year-old plants that we planted last year. And so right now we have them going through every row, going to every plant that we got planted and training. So first thing I teach them to do is tie their wire. So we got a wire tied to the bottom. This is to keep them straight as they're growing up, and something to give them structure as they're growing up. So I mean, this spring has been like one of the windiest we've had, so it's always good to give the plant some structure. And you can almost play the banjo off of that. You can hear that. But anyways, yeah, we're training them for structure, and I'll show you guys how we train them. So as we're training them, we want to keep them as straight as possible, and we wrap them, clockwise. There's not really a certain, personally, I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do it, but wrap them clockwise. And we have these little green, they're essentially like plastic bread clips that we're using to train them up. And so as they get, on a nice 80-degree day, you could probably grow 4 or 5 inches. Some of this stuff has grown I don't know, in the last, go over here and look at this. It's been probably a week since they've gone through here, and they probably trained it. It was probably right here the last time they trained it, and it grew 1.5 feet in a week at least. So it's kind of crazy how fast these things grow. So we're constantly going through this section of the field and training stuff. Don't mind our weeds and stuff. We're gonna go through with the weed sprayer and spray them off. But anyways, we're in here training, and I'll go over here. And so these things, it's kind of cool. Grapes will grow a leaf on one side of the plant, and then the opposite side. So, like for example, this right here, Mabel's being a perfect model. On the opposite side, they grow. This is called the tendril, and this wraps around and grabs onto certain things. So, like right here, it's grabbing onto its own leaf. But on the opposite side of a leaf will grow a tendril. And in between, I cut this one off, but in between the leaf, here will grow. These would be a little cordon, essentially, is what they are in vineyard terms. Grow out of here, and we want to cut those off because we don't want those till we get to the top. Here's a tiny little baby one, and so we can pull that one out there. But anyways, I'll show you how we train a full grape as I get over there. So earlier, the first thing we like to do is I teach the guys. So if they're first thing I want them to do is come through. We got ourselves a tendril that's kind of growing wild in here in the string. But the first thing I tell them to do is, and they didn't do it right on this one, we'll have to. They tied it as a full knot, not a half hitch, what they should have done, so that we can readjust later in the summer as stuff kind of loosens up and the wind blows. It might be kind of tough to actually get this one out. All right, so as I was saying earlier, these in between this tendril and the opposite side of the leaf, it likes to grow. This is what we call a cordon or a runner. We cut those out as we get it trained up the wire, and we only want something that's, I don't know, within probably 4 or 5 inches of that wire, so that we have a better angle. Otherwise, too far to train up above it. So what we'll do is we'll get it up on top without breaking it, hopefully, and get it to wrap around. We want to wrap it around that wire, and then we'll take our handy dandy twist ties, take our fingers and wrap it so that you still have a little bit of room in there so that it doesn't choke it out, but you want to make sure it secures itself to the wire. I'm going to do 2 of those, and next time they come around, this hopefully will be out to like here, and we'll train this one that way. So we train one cordon one way and the other one will go the opposite way as we work through the field. So anyways, and then once we get this kind of fully trained up, we'll start cutting leaves and everything off of the bottom.
Why are you not cutting the leaves?
The reason why we're not cutting any leaves is we still need the photosynthesis power out of these things to help push the growth out of the tops, because if we decided to cut these out, it would still grow probably pretty decently. But I mean, you can see this. I mean, it's kind of hard to see on the opposite side, but like for the example, this next leaf is bigger than my hand. There's actually, Emma and I will show you guys a leaf that might be one of the biggest grape leaves you've ever seen. But when you're training them like this, they just grow like wild. It's kind of crazy. So we want to use as much of the continued growth as we can. So, anyways, I don't know why I did that. I'll just leave it. Mabel's out here. Trusty dusty Mabel's out here helping me today. Wish that was a little bit tighter. But So here's a perfect example of these tendrils wrapping onto this wire as we're starting to train it. They like grabbing onto anything they can. And wire, we're fine with that. We'll take them. We want them to grab onto that wire, so it kind of helps them as it's been a super windy spring this spring, so anything they can hold on to kind of lessen the wind rub and damage, because these things will harden off. We'll stop pushing them so hard here with fertilizer relatively soon, probably the first or second week of July, to get them to start. Green wood is super tender in the wintertime for dieback, so you kind of want to slow them down and get some of that wood to what I call harden off, meaning that you start seeing some lignin develop and actual something that looks like wood start to develop. That's just gonna break off. That's kind of ugly, but anyways, yeah, it's stuff you got to pay attention to as you're kind of doing things. But get a few of those leaves off. Try to keep them as straight as we can. It just shows you, I mean, how much, when it comes to specialty crops like grapes or apples or pretty much any of these crops, people don't realize how much hand labor, like the physical, the need for physical labor. I mean, there's a lot of things we can't do from the seat of a tractor or from with a sprayer or anything like that. So it's crucial to be able to have people that can go through the field and take care of this stuff. I mean, we wouldn't get it done if we didn't have the help of our hard workers, and I mean, we rely on them a lot to get us where we're going. So anyways, yeah, try eating a pancake that big. You can't. We grow them big here at Haas Farms.